Liverpool look like they've got their main signing. Their number one transfer target, Bradley Barcola, the French international who plays at PSG, has agreed personal terms of Liverpool. The fee is currently being negotiated between PSG and Liverpool. Some people are saying this could be £140 million. Other people are saying this could only be 120 million euros. This could be a British record transfer fee. Not only that, a consortium involving Facebook's co-owner Eduardo and the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, together are buying a minority stake in Liverpool, which could be around 33%. It'd be interesting to see how that's going to work alongside FSG. But Liverpool are now valued, once this goes through, according to many reports, at around $6 billion. Which is going to be extremely interesting to see how the next few years go at Liverpool. Because they haven't really been, apart from last year where they signed Ekitike, Wirtz, Frimpong, Alexander Isak, they've always tried to be a club that do things their own way and not go and spend hundreds of millions. Last year they did. This year, however, a bit more reserved. They've also got Araujo from Barcelona, the Uruguayan centre-back. I also want to talk about their game yesterday where they lost 3-2 to Monaco and they were in absolute cruise control at one point during that game. But make sure you go down and drop a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Around 90% of you every single day watch the content and haven't hit that subscribe button. Let's jump straight into what Fabrizio Romano has had to say. He said Liverpool have the green light from Bradley Barcola on personal terms. Now, he has been linked to the likes of Bayern Munich, Arsenal, and now Liverpool. This, for me, is a big, big signing. Raw pace, very direct, very, very good in 1v1 situations. I thought he was good when he came off the bench a couple of times for France in the World Cup. He has a point to prove. Ultimately, he has been sitting there with the likes of Desiree Doué, Kvaratskhelia, and Ousmane Dembele. It's not straightforward to start over those three. That, in my opinion, is the best front three in world football, and it's won the Champions League back-to-back years. We can talk about the Kylian Mbappes and the Vinny Juniors all we want, but those three are a functioning front three who work together, who can all play similar positions. But Bradley Barcola answers a lot of Liverpool's problems because Ekitike has a huge long-term injury. So I think their front three is going to be very interesting to see what happens. They also now have Munoz, Ryan Gamoa, and Cody Gakpo. So alongside Barcola, they have three left wingers. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know he can play on the right, and I know he can play on the left. He can play both sides. But if they do hang on to Cody Gakpo, it'd be very intriguing to see what their best front three is going to be. Of course, Isak will start up front in the striker role. Mohamed Salah's gone now. But I'm telling you lot, he is going to cook in this league. The negotiations of PSG over the fee continue as clubs are in direct official conversation. Up to Liverpool and PSG, valuation remains high. People are saying this could be done in the next week or so. The Charity Shield is on this Sunday. It's 6 weeks before the official, warm-up to the Premier League, I think some people like to call it. But, lots of people are saying it could be 150 million euros. That is coming out from Team Talk. They have said Arsenal have made fresh contracts with Bradley Barcola's camp. Liverpool remain in pole position and have already opened formal talks with PSG. But Bradley Barcola's valuation is 150 million. Liverpool and Arsenal are both not willing to meet that price tag. I do think that's a little bit steep, but the market isn't there. We just did a video earlier with Terry. Check that out. No Bias Football at Terry Flewis TV. Now, the market for me isn't there. When you look at if we talk collectively, both right and left, in terms of world-class wingers, you got Vinny Jr., Kvaratskhelia, Elise, Dembele and Mbappe are more forwards now. Lamine Yamal. After those four, I'm sitting there going, Savini, Kvaratskhelia, Elise, Yamal. Then the drop-off, I'm not saying that Bradley Barcola, or he is a bit of a drop-off, but he isn't that world-class player like those four players.
Celtic closing in on the signing of Real Oviedo winger Hissem Hassan. It's understood the clubs have agreed a deal in principle, which includes an initial fee of just under £6 million, plus around £3 million worth of add-ons. Hassan has been given the green light to have a medical and finalise the paperwork on his contract to join Celtic this week. Right, a bit of breaking news. Celtic closing in on the signing of Real Oviedo winger Hissem Hassan. It's understood the clubs have agreed a deal in principle, which includes an initial fee of just under £6 million, plus around £3 million worth of add-ons. Hassan has been given the green light to have a medical and finalise the paperwork on his contract to join Celtic this week.
Electrifying starts. Cupra sponsors Sky Sports News Mornings.
Right, if you're just waking up this morning, President Trump has finally joined the debate over the future of the embattled Gianni Infantino. And it's perhaps not the biggest surprise that he's backing the FIFA president. Infantino has been under growing pressure to resign since announcing plans to sell off stakes in the World Cup to private investors, a plan which has now been scrapped. Well, President Trump and Infantino appear to have a close relationship around the hosting of this summer's World Cup. Infantino famously presented Trump with the first FIFA Peace Prize. And then there was following Balogun's red card, which was suspended, allowing him to play in the round of 16 following a personal request from Trump for a review. The two attended the final together. And Trump has posted this on his Truth social platform overnight. FIFA would be making a terrible mistake if for any reason they even considered replacing President Gianni Infantino. He is fantastic, having just presided over the most successful World Cup by 4 times ever presented. If he's gone, it will never be as successful or profitable again. Well, Trump's comments come after UEFA, CONCACAF and AFC, the Asian Football Confederation, released an open letter stating Infantino has broken their trust through deception over those plans to sell off stakes in the World Cup.
Electrifying starts. Cupra sponsors Sky Sports News Mornings.
2 stories broke tonight. On their own, either one would be the headline. Put together, this is the kind of night transfer windows get remembered for. Story 1. Bradley Barcola has told people close to him he wants Liverpool, and terms are basically settled. Story 2. The man bankrolling Liverpool's sudden spending power isn't a sheikh or a hedge fund, it's Jeff Bezos. 2 threads, 1 collision. Let's unpack both. Right, let's move fast, because this is moving fast. Barcola, yes. Terms, yes. Verbally locked. We're talking full package. Salary, bonuses, image rights framework, all discussed and understood by both camps. What's not done? The club-to-club fee. Still being worked. Structure being discussed. Guaranteed fee, add-ons layered on top tied to European qualification and appearance thresholds. Players' mentality, excited, genuinely. This is a player who has watched this move get talked about for 2 windows and now finally feels the ground shifting under it. Behind the scenes, recruitment staff pushing hard, ownership giving the green light to be aggressive. That's the key word this week. Aggressive. And the reason for that aggression, this is where it gets spicy. New capital, fresh money entering the ownership conversation. Bezos, tied to a wider group reportedly circling additional investment in the club's parent structure. Not confirmed at board level, but enough smoke, from enough separate sources, that I wouldn't dismiss it. Not this time. Bottom line, this deal has legs. Real legs. Watch this space, because the next 72 hours matter. Thank you. Let's put some structure around what we've just heard. The football rationale for this deal is straightforward. Liverpool have identified a gap in wide areas, pace, directness, a player capable of stretching defenses rather than simply rotating possession. Barcola fits that specification closely. He's 23, already a regular contributor in a major European league, and crucially, still has resale value attached to him, which matters as much to a modern recruitment department as goals and assists do. What's less straightforward is the financial backdrop, and that's where tonight's second story matters. For much of this window, Liverpool have operated with real discipline, selling before buying, keeping the books balanced. That discipline appeared to loosen noticeably in the last 10 days. Football finance analysts have pointed to informal conversations around new investment entering the ownership structure, with Bezos' name attached to some, though not all, of that reporting. It's worth being precise here. Nothing has been formally announced by the club, and stories like this can move slower in the boardroom than they do on the pitch. But the practical effect, whether or not any formal announcement follows, is that Liverpool's recruitment team currently has more room to operate than they did a month ago. And Barcola is the first name benefiting from that room. We'll continue monitoring both threads as the week develops. Look, I've learned to separate two things in stories like this, the player part and the ownership part. They don't always move at the same speed, and people conflate them constantly. The player part one actually believe everything about how this has been described, settled terms, an excited camp, a club pushing hard, that's the language of a deal that's genuinely close, not one being manufactured for headlines. The ownership part is trickier, and I'd urge a bit of patience there. Investment conversations involving figures like Bezos can circle a club for a long time before anything materializes, sometimes they never do. What I'd focus on instead is the effect, not the source. Liverpool are suddenly spending like a club that's been told, go get your man. Where that confidence is coming from is a fair question. Whether it's fully tied to one individual is something I'd want more clarity on before treating it as fact. But here's my honest take, even setting the ownership story aside entirely, Barcola to Liverpool stacks up on football logic alone. Right age, right profile, right timing in his career. This is the kind of signing that looks obvious in hindsight. Keep an eye on the next few days. If the fee gets resolved quickly, that tells you everything about how much backing this move really has.